Bonjour! My name is Amanda. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. I'm a 9th year teacher, and this upcoming year I'll be teaching grade 1 to French Immersion. Today I am working on a little craft project that I'll show you bits and pieces of. The project is going to be used for my storytelling tubs, my loose parts, as well as for some math activities. So I'll show you what I'm doing. So right now I am in the process of painting. I have some peg people, some acorns, and some eggs, and I'm doing 10 eggs, 10 acorns, and so I have 2 of these vases that match with them, and I figured while I have the colors out, I was going to paint some peg people as well. So my next task involves painting these ladybugs, and these are knobs for like a dresser. I'm going to paint these to look like mushrooms. I'm going to use red to paint both of them, and then once the red has dried, I'm going to put dots on the top of them to practice subitizing. So here we go. Alright, so right now I'm going in with some white paint, and I'm just making subitizing dots. So these mushrooms are going to be used in our loose parts, and they can just be mushrooms if that's what students want them to be. They could also be used in our storytelling tubs, probably in our fairy garden one, because that would make the most sense. Otherwise, I like using these in math, not just for subitizing, but also for like addition, subtraction. I have some ladybugs that have subitizing dots on them as well, and these could be like a matching game. These could be like, okay, here's these 2 mushrooms, what do they add up to? And you can make math stories with them. I really like tying math stories into storytelling, because then it makes math more like relatable, more human, I guess. That's not the best dot, but it's not the end of the world. They're still able to count them. So I'm going to continue on with this. Hello, it's a couple of days after I did the painting, so I was just going to show you quickly some of the things that I had done and my reasoning behind it and how I plan on using the tools. Okay, so the first thing I was going to show you that I had made or painted, because I obviously am not I didn't make them, but I painted them. So I painted these, and I have 2 of these vases in 10 different colors, so there's 20 in total, and these fit these little acorns like this. So what you probably saw earlier were the acorns sitting in upside down, so it didn't really look like an acorn. I was like, what's going on there? So they fit in like this, and then the egg also fits in like so. They can also go in upside down, doesn't matter. So my intention with these in a normal year would be to just have all of them, like all 20 vases and 20 objects in a bin or a basket in my loose parts area that kids can just pick and play. Because they're color coordinated, it would encourage color sorting, but I'm not going to be a stickler about it. So there's that. I wanted to use more natural colors just because I want to be a bit more Reggio inspired and use calm colors, just being a bit more aware of color psychology as well with my color choices. So I tried to avoid like really bright, obnoxious colors, which I ended up using the ladybugs. But anyways, so these are more so for color sorting. They can be used in the storytelling tubs as well, which I've talked about in a previous video, and I'll make another video with more specifics of how those are being used just by grabbing the acorns. So these function in the loose parts area where kids can grab and do a color match, or they can grab and mix with other items as well. Just a bit more of an open-ended project. For this upcoming year, how I plan on using it is each child will have their own mini version of a storytelling tub, and so each child will get some of these items in their tubs as well. Not necessarily as much color sorting, but just for a bit of play. Another way I was hoping to use these were in individual this year, or otherwise larger scale sensory tubs, where if I have, for example, this, and I have some purple pom-poms, students can use tweezers or their little fingers or whatever, scoops, and pick up the purple pom-poms to match here. So a bit of like a hide and seek kind of activity with sensory play. So that's those. The last step that I need to do to finish those is to add some Mod Podge to them. So this is the Mod Podge I've been using. It's meant for outdoor use. I need to read a bit more if that means I can wash these easily, which is why I haven't gone through and put Mod Podge on them, because I want to see what my best option for washing is. But if these are going to be in individual bins, then they'll have time in quarantine if I'm not able, if I'm not able to wash them. Otherwise, they'll just stick with the kid for the full year and we'll deal with it later. So that's that. The next thing I did was I worked on like these little peg people, and I also painted 2 peg people with colors that match these. So these can all, like some of these can also fit inside. Sorry, I'm just playing with them on the table here. So some of the peg dolls can actually fit inside, like not as like a secure fit as the acorn and egg, but some of the dolls do fit inside. Yeah, like my largest doll, it doesn't fit, but no big concern. Again, just more color sorting options, and easy to be like, okay, person one, you're going to have the purple set, so they'll have 6 items in total. Could be 2 of these, and the bits that I showed you earlier. Another thing I did with the peg people was I used 6 different paints for skin tones. Normally I've had my peg people just blank in the room, but I wanted to include more diverse skin tones in the toys that I'm bringing into the classroom, and I thought this was like an inexpensive way for me to do it. Like, I already had the peg people. I picked up the paint, and the paint cost me like $5 for the 6 colors. Anyway, so I have a bunch of those, and I have a bunch that are blank as well, and students just really like playing with these for storytelling, and these are amazing for storytelling tubs, and that's the goal of where I'm going to be using them this year, is in the storytelling tubs. I do have a set that's for loose parts. I have themed sets that come out when we're working on our drama unit. So for example, this past year we put on the play La Poule Ma Boule, so Chicken Little, and I had peg people that I had ordered from someone local that were decorated by, like, for the characters in the play. So kids during one of the literacy centers, they would take the peg people and act out the play. So lots of different uses there. Another thing I worked on were these trees. I painted 5 of them and then I was like, these are annoying to paint, so I stuck with 5. I'll probably paint more. I know I always have families that ask like if there's anything they can do to help, and I give them the option of like, do you want to come into the class, or are you willing to like prep things at home for me, and like things like that. Are you able to speak French and do a reading group, or offer some support like that? And this upcoming year I anticipate that we're not going to have parent volunteers or family volunteers in the classroom, so I think one thing I might see if anyone is willing to do, and if not, like, I'll do it when I'm able to. But I would send home a little tub of paint and more of these to paint, and probably some Mod Podge as well, because I Mod Podged these and I like it. Like, I don't like the texture of Mod Podge, but I know it's what I should do, so I've got some of these. These ones are specifically for my storytelling tubs. I wanted to use them with the woodland animals bin that I have. Okay, when you saw me planning out what I was doing with all the wood pieces, you saw I had a lot of wood pieces, and I obviously definitely not prepped all of them. So some things that are like super simple that I didn't really do much with. These little egg cups, I wasn't sure if they would be able to fit these eggs. They do, but not the way that I wanted it. So I decided for these, I'd put just Mod Podge on the inside, and these will go in sensory play. So then when items are being scooped, there's a place for them to go. So I have 3, 6, 8 of these. Sensory play is where it's at. Okay, I'm going to show you 3 more things that I worked on, and then I'll end it there because I have other projects that I haven't yet gotten to. So one that I was super excited about were these subitizing ladybugs, and I talked a little bit about those. So I'll show you the rest of what I have, and then I'll explain like my vision for how I'm using them. So I have the subitizing ladybugs, and these ones were super easy to paint. Like, I definitely appreciated these. Another thing that was easy to paint that I'm excited to use are the little subitizing mushrooms. So similar to what I did with the ladybugs, just dots in different arrangements there. I tried to keep some standard arrangement, so like what you, like just looking at that, you're like 5, I got that, because this is what we see on dice. There were some that, like, this one's messy, I should probably fix it. So this one, isn't the standard layout for 6. So when subitizing, and I remembered it's groups of 3. So it's easier to see groups of 3 for this, for example, or groups of 2 for students. So there's that. And then I also changed up my idea for these river rocks, and instead I wrote the number on it with a paint pen, and then I did a thin layer of Mod Podge over it, and this turned out really well. I like these. So my idea with these is for math. I don't intend on using these in storytelling tubs, loose parts. These are specifically for math, and in math, like, these could be used as loose parts, but it's not a part of my typical loose parts section. And it could be used as a storytelling tool, but the overarching theme is math. With these, at the start of the year, we spent a lot of time reviewing numbers in French and counting, and so this is great for building number sets at the start of the year, where like a center, and I'm talking typical like non-pandemic school year, a student or a group of students would work with like the set of ladybugs, and they would just like, they could draw them out of a basket and put them in number order, or they could draw out, like when we're working on addition, for example, they could pull 2 and add them together. One thing I'm debating doing is on the bottom writing the number, but like that's extra work for me and I don't need to do it, so I might not. Anyway, so that's like the idea of using the subitizing pieces is for counting, French number recognition, addition, could use them for subtraction, one-to-one correspondence. So for example, if a student drew, like if I have the ladybugs, they can pick this, and then they would have to count another item that equals the number on here. Another way to use the rocks would be to match. So a lot of ideas are floating around for how I plan on using those. For storytelling, let me just quickly speak to that. So for storytelling, what I could do is let each student draw from the basket a ladybug, and then they have to use the numbers on here to create a math story. So it could be like, the ladybug ate 4 leaves and then ate another 2 leaves. How many leaves did the ladybug eat? Like stories like that, but like with other loose parts too, so it's more play as opposed to handout type of work. So there's this. Another thing you could do with students with these subitizing items is have them each pick one, and they order themselves from greatest to least, least to greatest. There's lots of opportunities to incorporate math into a bit of play, especially with subitizing items. So I am super excited about these. I'm sure there's like, I've already got other ideas going right now, so those are just some ways that I plan on using them. And that's that. Well, thanks for crafting with me and listening to my ideas of using these items in my classroom. If you have any questions, I am happy to answer them. Otherwise, we'll see you next time. Okay, thanks so much for watching, and à la prochaine!
Goodbye!